Yay, technology. I don't know how long y'all was sitting there watching me just look at the sky, but hey, welcome to the show, folks. If you don't know me yet, my name is Mike Asherbrenner, also known as the Redneck Connector and proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. And I am here with just one of the amazing two guests today, and Megan Robinson. She's been rolling with us for a long time. She's the CEO and founder of E-Leader Experience. How are you today, my friend?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
That's what I like to hear. See, what y'all don't know is that when I go backstage, I haven't got to like be myself for a while, like the full blown Muppet baby self, like Animal. And so when I get around friends and colleagues, I just lose it. They just can't handle it. And now,
I was
I'm
going to
all
say, you
hyped.
couldn't even hold your water together. It looked
No,
like tea.
yeah, I just threw it everywhere. I need like a bib, like a baby, right? So we're gonna have fun today. We're gonna get things done. And folks, this is a prelude to the upcoming training. All right. So these two amazing people, Phil Tetroot and Megan Robinson, they're going to be hosting a private Zoom training November 6th at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. No cheap infomercials, no bait and switch, just things that you can take and implement in your business to grow the bottom line. No woo woo stuff. And yeah, then you get to know these amazing people, right? They're full of integrity, heart, and brilliance. And so it's all about getting the right fit for the job and plug in, have fun. We're going to ask y'all questions today. Chime in, ask questions if you'd like to. We'll do our best to get to them and network with each other, right? Whether you're a hound or friends of the hounds in the comments, have fun. I mean, y'all see it all day long. People getting, collaborations, partnerships, warm introductions, right? Clients, because other people believe in other folks, right? And when they say, I need this, they think of you. So, but is that you typing, Mavis Beacon?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. I can type
I
that
saw
fast.
something in the chat. Oh, no. I type with a purpose. It's a problem. I've worn off many a keyboard.
It's okay. I'm especially if the word's A. I can type the heck out of the letter A. All right. So I had to get a shout out. I haven't gotten things in the mail. I got a notification from the post office that I was getting a package, and I went like Inspector Gadget trying to figure out who it's coming from, what it is, that I accidentally buy something. And it was three things. So I got my postcard from April White and her Tomo tour. It went off in Japan. So awesome as always. So thank you, April, for thinking of me. Funny thing is, when she mailed it, she came back and then I got it, right? It took a while to get here. Uh, so thank you, April. And then Colleen, if you could see that. So I've got that postcard. She gave me a card. She is amazing, amazing hound, also a supporter of the HOB, power partner. And then this is the one I was tracking like Inspector Gadget. So this is our buddy Baz Porter. All right. And he sent me all his books. And that's the one with the forward by Brian Tracy. He's got Tony Robbins. So yeah. And he has been really instrumental in helping me, do what I don't know. Just like all these folks, just like every single hound and Megan and everybody else. So I wanted to give a shout out and thank everybody before we get this show on the road. And then, Megan, this guy, Kevin Smith, Kindness Worldwide. Folks, we've been talking about this since Moby Dick was a minnow, right? And so here's the deal. November 12th, during Kindness Week, which is November 8th and 15th, very soon, right? 2 weeks. And they're going to have a private showing where this whole movement started in York, Pennsylvania. Victoria, Miss Pennsylvania. There's so many people involved in this, and it's directed by the one and only Elgin Cahill, right? Award-winning all across the board. And even he was tearing up. Did you see the show last week? It looked like we had onions. We were just, oh man, we were all just Onion City. I don't know what it was, but my goodness, he is just, and he's finally back in York. So he was in Iceland and Portugal, spreading kindness, getting municipalities, getting world leaders. Thank you, everything you do, Kevin. And this guy runs a serious business, okay? But that's the crazy people we run with in the house, right? We have big hearts and we follow them, right, Megan?
Absolutely.
And we got the scars to prove it too. All right. And so there you go. We will talk more. We're going to give you a little taste of what's to come at the private training. Again, folks, have fun. Thank you for being here. There's a million things to do. Kids are bothering you. Dinner's ready, but you're here. We're going to make it worth your while. So you ready to run this intro? Ready to get started, Megan?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's do it. Papaw can find the buttons. We'll get it done. There it is.
Damn it.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right, folks. Well, let's pull up Phil, because here's the deal. What if the key to faster growth isn't more effort, but it's smarter alignment? Boy, I found out a hard way. I'm the school of hard knocks, y'all. Y'all know me. So we're going to chop it up with Megan Robinson, bring Phil up, and give me a little intro when y'all get up here, so folks may not know you for some reason. So welcome to the show, Phil. How are you, my friend?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Oh, man, rare form as usual.
Great.
So,
Good to see you, Megan.
Yeah. Oh, I'm fired up.
Lovely to see you, Phil.
So, Phil, give everybody a little bit of intro, man. Where'd you come from? You've been in the game for a long time. You're a down-the-earth, straight shooter, and you do a lot of things. So give us a little background on your current role and kind of what got you here.
Yeah. So, my current role is I have a company called Rapid Growth Services, and I work with early stage to established companies in how they're competing in the marketplace. So we all need to go out and get revenue. Well, how do we do that? And a big piece of that, a fundamental piece of it, is centered around leadership. So that's really how we got here, is talking about the influence that leadership has on the success of our business, and how to have a good approach and a good framework in which to execute upon.
I loved our early.
I'm doing my mom impression again, dadgummit. Go ahead, Megan. Save me, Megan. Come on, I've done this before.
I was jumping in. I was like, wait a second. Did everything just pause? That freaked me out. It was amazing, because when Phil and I first met, it was that like firework moment where we were speaking the same language. We were talking about the same thing from two totally different perspectives. But they weren't even that different. It was always kind of those common core principles, structure, just the infrastructure and those fundamental basics that really apply to so many different situations, so many different organizations, so many different teams. It's those almost universal principles of leadership and business and growth. And without them, we both see companies suffer.
Bingo. And you guys helped me see this, especially you, Megan, in the beginning, because it's like two halves of a circle, right? You got one camp that seems, again, not all of them, but a lot of them, especially back in the day, all about processes, right? Especially if you're manufacturing, it's very important, bottlenecks, etc. And when I was in school and college, that's what we talked about. But what we didn't talk a lot about, or practice well, right, or teach well, was the people aspect. And that's why you two are so complementary, man, like PB and J in the same jar here, because you can have the best processes on earth, but if your people aren't skilled and on the same page and buying into it, good luck. I mean, we even heard Shabir talk about that, right? Shabir Chowdhury. He's like, look, one company got 10X, the other got 100X. What's the difference? That's where Megan comes in. It's the people and the culture aspect that made the difference. So it's not one or the other, right, folks? It's the combination of both that fits your needs and your culture. That's what we're talking about. Don't get quiet on me all of a sudden. Go ahead.
I was going to say 100%. It's interesting because, and Phil, you jump in here. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel that particularly on that sales side, everyone wants to sell you their widget or their process and their something unique with that. And without someone like Phil that really looks at how you're going to implement that, what's going to carry through, how is your culture going to adopt that? How does that work with the people? How do you build them up? It falls flat, and everyone wonders why they keep wasting money and wasting energy without seeing any of the results that were promised.
Ooh, we're going to start with you since you opened that can of worms. That was great. So I'm going to go to both, but I'm going to start with Megan. All right. Yep. So leadership has really become a buzzword. It has been probably for a long time, in my opinion. So everybody's saying they're leading, but here's the deal. How many, and maybe few, who are actually multiplying results? So Megan, when you talk about the leadership multiplier, what does that really mean?
I think that factor is really how you are multiplying your people. And that's where that missing gap is. It's not that magical process that's all of a sudden, it's not an AI tool that you're going to put in and say, oh, now we need to cut people and now we're going to multiply everything. It is how the people are getting aligned to that, how they are really following, and how you are growing them. Because I think most importantly, it's about that growth piece, but meeting them where they're at and able to grow them. And that is a skill that very, very few of us have learned. It's something that I think everyone knows they need to be when it comes to leadership. They know they need to grow their team. They know they need to develop people, but too often they don't know what it means or what it looks like or how to do it. And that's where it starts to fall flat. Sometimes it's an awareness piece. And I've worked with leaders, I've worked with organizations that literally having to put those expectations of what it means to be a manager, what it means to be a leader is developing other people. So I'm sure you've seen it where it's not even something that's addressed or discussed.
And it's done in a very narrow boundary, right? So if I think about it, I'm growing a skill, not the person, right? So from a leadership perspective, you really want to understand the person. Where are they at? Where do they want to go? Now, how do I help you achieve that aspiration that you have? So it's more than just the fundamentals of the company. It's an individual by individual approach that you have to then consolidate into what scales for you, because you can't necessarily do everything at a one-to-one, but you have to have a multiplier within that.
Look, everybody got quiet. Well, here's what I'm thinking too, because it just popped in. So I'm gonna throw a curveball. I heard a lady talk about personalities very, very well, right? And how it fits in with entrepreneurs and business. But isn't that kind of the thing? If you're a business person, like businessman or woman, you built a successful business or building one. Is it really hard, Megan? We'll start with you because you deal with this all the time, where somebody may have grew up and they have a type personality, maybe very analytical. So that may be an impedance or impediment to doing some other things that could actually improve the ROI. Like, have you seen that? Because I just thought about that, so I may be way off base. But
I think personality and behaviors are very closely aligned, and they're often replacing one another when they shouldn't be. And personality, we tend to think of as fixed, that you are an analytical personality or you're not. You're a people person or you're not. And that is something, yes, I don't want to change anyone. Everyone needs to understand what leadership looks like within their own context and what success looks like for themselves. However, where I think the great leaders really start to shine is being able to adjust and adapt their behaviors. And behaviors are not who you are, but it is how you act, and it is what's going to generate the results that you want. And that's where you have a lot of the flexibility. And that's where you're able to meet people where they're at. And that's where you're able to get better results.
Whoa, that came out of nowhere, like whack-a-mole. She just popped it. She just see that? Oh my goodness. So Phil, I'm going to ask you that, but I'm going to hone it in a little bit, because that's why we go out there and get other people. A lot of times we think, well, we can do this ourselves. Why would I pay somebody or talk to someone and all that? And we'll go, because you can't see the forest from the trees sometimes. It doesn't mean you're a bad leader. It just means a fresh set of eyes. Objectivity goes a long way. And it's not easy to swallow. I had somebody do that the other day. I'm like, damn, I thought I was ready. I wasn't really. I was like, I'm not sure I was ready, because this is my ugly baby project. But I needed to hear it, because then I thought, it's like, do I want to be right and bullheaded, or do I want to be successful? Do I want to impact more people? And that's why we do these. Because it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that if Megan does this day in, day out, and talks about it for fun on the weekend, maybe she can bring a perspective that you just don't do, because that's not your wheelhouse. Does that make sense? Phil, what do you think? Because blind spots, right? Like, what's the biggest blind spot that you see when companies try to grow?
Yeah. So you're talking on an important thing there, which is lack of clarity. The closer you are to a problem, the more involved you are, the less clear it is to you. So how do you step back? And it's a very difficult thing to do. So bringing in somebody that can stand next to you, that you trust what they're saying, allows you to lift yourself back a little bit and get that clarity. An analogy that I use is if you watch a horse that's walking down the street, they've got blinders on them. The reason they have blinders on them is they don't want to have them see what's coming at it. You're going through an intersection. They don't know that the red light's going to stop that vehicle. We don't necessarily we do the same thing. We put our blinders up. We don't want to see certain things, so we lift them in order to get clarity, which then when we have better clarity, allows us to be more effective as a leader. And kind of tapping into what Megan was just saying, right? Defining your persona. Who do you want to be as a leader, right? What is your definition? How do you want to lead and be effective in your organization? All these things come together as a trait that you say, this is what I'm going to be. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's what I can't see, and here's how I'm going to get that knowledge.
Absolutely. And again, that comes from a lot of experience, Phil. I mean, we're not born with this, you know, and that's why you had been there and done that. That's why people hire you. You fail more times than people tried, right? You stay up on the trends. It makes sense, right? And you know what got me from being open to having a lot of coaches when I realized that amateurs do things alone. That's why, I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm saying that's the case. But when I started asking other people, it opened up my horizons, right? So I started, I mean, I did Pilates. That's not something I would have done on purpose, right? That was influence. That was taking a look at stuff. And so it's funny, but it's the same thing with growth. I don't believe that things are flat. Like, oh, well, I'm kind of steady. No, I believe you're either growing or declining. You may not see it yet, but you're either expanding and that to me is an internal job, you know, and I just learned the hard way. So thank you for those perspectives. And before we dive deeper, all right, because I want to talk about hidden cost of misalignment. This is not just about feeling good and just hoping that employee retention gets better. This is talking about bottom line effect, right? So, what's one myth? We'll start with Phil since he was already going about leadership or growth that you want to bust right out of the gate. What is one of the things that you hear all the time? And you're like, if any.
Well, the one I encounter a lot is I'm the only one that can do it. Right? I've got all that knowledge, so I'm the only one, right? So the ability to step back and trust. And when you ask someone about, right, what is their level of trust? Oh, I trust everybody. Okay, but why are you unwilling to step back and allow somebody else to do this? And that's one of the big misses, that I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Any given day, we can be sick, something can happen, and we're not available. Does the world stop for us, or does the world still proceed? And if the world still proceeds, then yes, we can trust others to operate on our behalf, and they can still be successful.
Yeah, I won't bring up what I said backstage yet.
Can I share something? Sorry, because
Yeah.
you just brought something up for me, Phil. And it was a lesson I learned early in my career from my father. And it was very much, you are always replaceable. When you work for a company, never pretend that you have any power over that company. You are 100% replaceable. Stop pretending that you're special. And it's so weird. I just made this connection that, yes, that's true. Like I think most people here have learned that, yes, you're replaceable in a company. For some reason, when it comes to their own company, they think they're not replaceable.
Yeah.
Wow, it is revelational.
Sorry, I was real excited about that.
Oh,
it happens frequently, especially if you build a company, you take any outside equity or anything in there where somebody else has a control seat, you are replaceable, because somebody can say we're going in a different direction, or your board of directors say, you know what, this isn't working. You've maxed out your capabilities. We're going here now, and you can be taken out of your own company. There's only about 30% of founders, if I remember the number correctly, actually stay in their position more than 5 years. They get exited earlier.
wow.
The number might be smaller. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's like 10% or 20.
Okay.
I didn't think it was
Yeah,
as
I'm
high
trying
as
to
30.
remember. I was going through it earlier this year, and it's a pretty shocking number. But what I see as the biggest thing there is our ego. Our ego gets in our way, and well, I'm the only one, I can do this. Well, we are all replaceable. I mean, last week or in the last couple of weeks, we've watched a lot of football coaches that were at the top of the game that are worth a heck of a lot of money for their exits, no longer in their position. So if they're willing to pay somebody, $50 million to send them home, well, guess what? You're replaceable.
Yep. Well, a mentor of mine told me, and he's absolutely spot on. He said, what's the company's all really about? Either stakeholder, shareholder wealth. So they're going to pay a position, not the person. He said, if they pay $250,000 for an ER doctor, they're not going to pay one more dollar over that they need to, even if you're better. It's just, and as I went out in the world, I was like, that's true. And that's why we start our own business, probably part of it, right? But also, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means understand the game, right? If business and corporate is a game and an expansion, you got to know the rules to the game, how it's played, and get that competitive edge. That's what it is, right? It's just like athletes, right? You get better, stronger, you train wiser. And this is what we're talking about. And it's amazing that other companies, a lot do, but a lot don't. They kind of have that tunnel vision in a bad way. And but the ones who do, yeah, no surprise, they grow faster. Right? They have more client loyalty, better retention. See, look, Megan's done like train me so well, I could just do it for her. Like I listen, dadgummit. All right. But let's move on to the hidden cost of misalignment. So let's start with Megan. We'll pick on her. So you talk about alignment being the silent killer of growth. What does misalignment actually look like day to day for a team or founder?
I think for me, and what will resonate with a lot of people, is the firefighting behavior. When you are spending more of your time fighting fires and putting it out for things that your team should be able to handle, that to me is a huge misalignment. That's a huge gap.
Oh, I've been there. I'm so honest. Yeah. Oh,
we've all been there. We're all, most of us are there right now, to be honest, in some capacity. And some of the studies, I was doing some research actually for a conference I was at last week. Most executives spend more than 50% of their time fighting fires. It's only about like 25% or less working on strategic initiatives. Everything is short-term strategy. Everything is urgent. And I think that's the biggest cost of that misalignment, because it's always well, we could have aligned earlier. We should have done it earlier, and it would have taken more time in the moment. And you're always paying for it in time in the back end.
Well, again, that's another reason to outsource things that you don't have the time to do, so you can do these kind of things. And I'm not preaching, I'm doing it. Every time I get to a point where I'm like, yeah, I made it, guess what? I got another hurdle, like I got another growth phase to hit. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's not you're just growing fast. Like, I'm like, do I stink? What is wrong with me? Like, I'm really trying to work on this issue. I'm trying to plan and be strategic. But sometimes you're just, and that's why you have to get other people involved. That's why you go and learn things and hire people, so you don't have to do it. Because I learned in companies, I want y'all's input. I learned that if I go out there, answer the phones, take out the trash and all that stuff to save $20 an hour, I'm not going to make $1,000 an hour. Right. As if you magnify that for a corporation or a company doing $50 million revenue, boy, that's a lot of money, right? So we're talking about a very extensive rate of return just because you don't know some stuff, or maybe there's a couple micro tweaks that you just haven't learned yet, right? It's fascinating to me.
Well, I think there's that gap of what the vision is of having that $1,000 an hour. Most people don't think of it that way at that time. They're too caught up in the moment. They're not looking forward to what they really want and where they need to be for that moment. Part of that is the investment that you make getting there, in every sense of it.
Well, because it's not that you're dumb or anything. It's just because it happens, right? You're in the motion and things change. And then before you know it, you're spending 3 months fighting fires. I mean, it's not that people are goofy, right? Especially successful people. It just creeps up on you. And I've seen that myself, right?
Yeah. And if you go back to what we talked about earlier, right? So that trust and control, right? So I don't trust my people. I got to go do it. Now I'm in control. So now I become a limiter. As you talked about, in a day, you've got 24 hours. That's it. Right. So if I got to accomplish something, there's only so much time, so many days. How am I going to do it? And if I have to allocate my time to cleaning the floors, doing this, how many things can I do in a given day and then still be able to execute on the things that are most important? So being able to step back, establishing your prioritization, and where is my time best allocated to, not only to do the task, but more importantly, on how I'm going to lead my organization. Where do I need to be present? And where do I not need to be present, right, to be able to get that multiplier effect?
Well, with that intentionality, because I just got off of it's been a busy month for me, but I just got off of a workshop and I was doing expectation setting, delegation, accountability, like those core foundational pieces that we're talking when it comes to multiplying. Everyone knows the benefits of delegating. No one wants to take the time to do it. And the biggest, every time I ask the audience, what stops you from delegating? That's one of the questions we go through, because people need to know what gets in the way. And I guarantee you trust is always at the top of the list. I don't trust other people. It's too big. It's too much of a responsibility. And if you ask them, what are you doing to build that trust? How are you fixing that trust problem? There's nothing. There's nothing.
Is that a root cause of micromanagement? You just helped me connect that, because I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have the capacity to micromanage people, but that would make sense. If you don't trust and you don't have a process and you're just kind of putting out fires, then you would probably default to micromanagement. Have you all seen that? Or
I'll let Phil go first, because I have a different perspective on micromanagement.
Not a lot. Trust is it's mine. I own it, maybe from an accountability standpoint. So I don't necessarily give up the trust because ultimately I'm accountable versus empowering and allowing somebody else to do it and then guiding. Right. I still get the same accomplished. But now I'm also creating a second channel for somebody else or another group of people to be able to do the same task. So again, I'm putting my time elsewhere. But I see some people in the micromanagement, but that then spins into so many other places. But trust is, I own the responsibility, and can I give up that responsibility? And the answer should be, I should be doing it. Yes.
Well, it's hard though. Especially
it is hard. Yeah.
It can be.
If I can piggyback off it, because I do think trust is a key piece to that. When I look at micromanagement, it's really more about the individual rather than the manager, the person that's delegating. If that individual doesn't have great abilities, they need to be micromanaged, and it's not a bad thing. They need to have those controls and those boundaries and that oversight. Absolutely. When it comes to someone that's actually capable and has the skills and abilities for it, that's when it becomes micromanagement, when you're not meeting that person where they're at. And that's, I think, where if they are at that point, ideally you've built trust, so it's not an issue. But if you do have great talent and you continue to hold them back and treat them as if they didn't have talent, then yes, you will absolutely be micromanaging. But more importantly, you're going to burn that person out and they're not going to stick around because no one wants to be in that place.
Let me ask you a question, Megan, because you deal with this a lot, right? So if you see a trust issue exist and you ask them, why don't they trust? What do you hear back from them of why either they're not trusting or they're not developing trust in their somebody within their team?
That's a good question.
Most of the time, the biggest excuse is time. It's 100% excuse of time, but I think it stems from something else, and it's their perceived risks. There is a bigger perceived risk on the table than the reality of not getting something perfect or making a mistake or how you can really mitigate. So I look at it as, what are the risks that you're seeing? Because that's what's breaking the trust. If there's no risk, you don't have to worry about trusting someone. So if you can start to put the pieces in to mitigate the risks, then you're able to address it more head on, and you're able to kind of almost put that plan together to start building the trust out. Did that answer the question, Phil?
It did. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's real world examples of, again, we hear people say, well, I have to do it and I don't have the trust, but to get to the understanding of the why, right? And now how do you lift why out of the way?
And I try to not, as a coach and not a therapist, I try to not ask too many why questions. Like, why don't you trust them? Right? That's always a dangerous, a slippery slope. But if I can't ask what's the real risk of something happening, it separates it from the trust piece. And it really starts to talk about what's the perceived concerns rather than the relationship between the two persons. I can't solve all of that in a 2-hour workshop.
Sure.
But I can get them to reflect differently on it. That is a whole nother trust building conversation.
Well, look at that. See it. Yeah, I was just sitting here letting you two do your thing. That's why I'm so excited for next week. But oh my gosh, seriously, shameless plug, November 6th. You're going to take it away.
Do you do a lot of work with trust, Phil?
We do. I do ask a few more of the why questions just to understand underlying motivations, not to be the therapist either, but it's more of, I don't think they have the skills or whatever. There's something that they've quantified. So now we can say, okay, how do we create the environment so that person can develop, right? So if they don't have the skills, how do we bring that to them? If they don't have some other capability, how do we enable them with that capability, right? So creating more of an action plan, because if you're a single person at the top, you're a liability, right? That's a risk. So you need to have somebody else that knows how to make things work in order that in case you want to go on vacation, you want to do this, you have to have your separation. So I want to empower others to be able to fill my shoes. It might not be one person. It might be a combination that equal me, but I want to give more people that that knowledge and ability to do it.
Let's talk bottom line, Phil. On that note, all right, so you see this on the go-to market side and revenue side, very much so. So when teams are misaligned, what happens to the sales momentum?
When they're misaligned, they're doing the wrong things, right? So give you an analogy that you can relate to over there in Kentucky. You got the big mud bogs, right? So you got the vehicles that are out there and they go through and you see them, their tires are moving at about 100 miles an hour, but they only move 10 feet. And that happens frequently where we're going through and we're doing certain things that a lot of motion, a lot of action without clarity, right? And if I'm bouncing all over the place, then I'm not getting a lot of forward progress, right? So if I'm needing to grow my revenue or just maintain revenue, a lot of companies today are struggling with just how do I maintain? I don't want to continue to decrease in my revenue because that creates other adverse events. So if I want to maintain, what do I got to do? And then how do I do it effectively? So if we're out of alignment, I'm maybe spending time in the wrong places. And once time's gone, I can't recover it. So I've got to make sure I'm looking at time as a strategic asset, and I'm pointing the right things, in the right places to take advantage of that time at the moment to get the return I'm looking for.
Well said. Megan, you don't have to say anything, but I said alignment. I thought you're all about that. And you just had like 50 conferences on that, or at least part of that. Right?
I had a lot of conversations. I will say one of the big conversations that I'm typically having with organizations and the biggest misalignment is around expectations. And people don't understand what is expected of them. And leaders honestly don't have clarity of what they expect from others. And that misalignment tends to be one of the biggest productivity wasters, the biggest focus. The lack of clarity is shocking, but probably not shocking. A lot of Gallup research points to over 50% of people in work don't understand what's expected of them in their roles. And when you want to talk about alignment and the gap and the opportunity for that, man, that is a very clear data point on what misalignment looks like for organizations.
All right. So I didn't have the internet as a kid in the country, so I had to read The Art of War because that's the only thing interesting in the library. But it says it, and I'll never forget it. I hate it, but it's the truth. It'll make or break you. When the orders are clear and it's not executed, it's the fault of the officers. When the orders are unclear, it's the fault of the general. There you go. Like if I'm telling people stuff and I'm speaking English, but they're hearing Mandarin, maybe it's not them, or maybe because sometimes I've seen a company like hire all these culture people and burn out all this stuff, and I'm thinking, you just speak in two different languages. It's really wild to see. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's disastrous. You have all these beautiful processes, fields done got you cleaned up, and then nobody knows how to drive the tools. Nobody knows how to, and then you think, well, why? So go ahead.
It's about those hidden expectations. I will say culture or undocumented or however you want to define it. What I always hear is they should know better. They should know how to do this. Right. And we all, people talk about should on yourself, but you should on your team way more often. You should on the other people. And that to me is always a red flag. And I've definitely challenged many leaders on really should they, how would they know that? Is that really clear? And it's fun to see them kind of scramble, get a little wiggly on that. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point there because when I think about leadership bottlenecks, right, we've talked about, lack of clarity, right? So expectations, things like that, but it's also the communication that comes along with it, right? So am I having that communication that everybody can understand, right? Not just the people at the top, not the people in the middle. One guide that I give to organizations is when you're going to create communication, do it in a way that the person that's right above the bottom rung on the ladder, that they understand it. Because I want 100% understanding, acknowledgement, not necessarily execution, because I can't necessarily guarantee on that, but I want to make sure people understand where we're at. So that one level up from the bottom rung is the people that are not necessarily fitting into my organization. One level up is maybe somebody that's new to my company is still learning their ways or new in their career, right? They're learning their ways. If I message to the people at the top of the ladder, they're going to get it and they're going to execute. Everyone else is going to look at you confused and say, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So bring it down to a point. The people at the top are going to take whatever I offer to them and they're going to do more with it because that's just how they operate. But I got to make sure everybody has clarity around expectations to ensure that I've got as high execution as possible across my teams.
I always call it that bobblehead phenomenon where you say something, you talk to your team and everyone bobs their head. They're like, yep, we understand. Sure, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And then nothing gets. I was like, okay, who do you blame?
They go to the water cooler after. It's like, what was that? Do you understand what was just said?
Dude, it reminds me of I don't know if y'all met Scott Heathman. He was the colonel at Scott Air Force Base, right? And think about it. He would have people would follow this guy without rank. They didn't have to. He would do things that hardly anybody else would do. Like he joined the fire department team, and if you've never been on a fire department like me, you don't just pick up the stuff and do it. You will die. It just you won't work for a week. And he would do it, and everybody was like, "Wow, the colonel actually did that. That's crazy." And so those kind of things, when you actually experience and really try to see it from their perspective, that right there can get you prepared for Megan and Phil, because now you're thinking, well, I think I'm being clear, but what are they really getting? And it's humbling. Oh man, be careful if you ask people what they think, and they're going to tell you. But again, do you want to be right, or do you want to be successful, more impactful, right? Do you want to have a legacy? Do you want to build your business to the heights that it could be? And that's the only reason I'm coachable, to be honest, because I'm like, well, what if I don't do it? Well, you're going to stay this way now. I like where I'm at, but I'm not satisfied. I'm ambitious, right? And so, anything to add before I move on? Megan made that face. I kind of thought she had something. No, maybe it's me.
Just my enthusiastic face.
Good. Well, I'm going to give a couple shout outs so we don't kill momentum. This is a great convo. Thank you all for chiming in with comments, your own comments. Like I see people in there has built businesses, doing it again for the 16th time. Beverly, Colleen, thank you. Nicole is here. I'm not getting all the comments on the screen. There's tech issues. Everybody's updating stuff, but thank you. If I don't see you, love you anyway. But let me add, folks, you go to my profile if you don't want to type out this big long URL. But I wanted to give a shout out to Steve Ramona of Doing Business with a Service Heart, top really highly ranked podcast. This man is the real deal, and he puts on the most amazing guests, right? You can be successful and be heart-centered at the same daggum time, all right? So thank you, Steve. People don't, now it's not just me saying it. And Enterprise Referrals, that's Jesse Dobeck. He was on the Mike King show on the radio. This guy has absolutely built a powerhouse business, 50 million plus, on getting out there and investing in people first. So, man, I got a cohort now. It's not just me. It's tons of them out there. I'm like a bug zapper. I'm the most blessed guy ever. And then we've got Tanya Eberhardt of Brandface. Everybody should know that. Wow, right? Love that, because look who helped me. I didn't clean myself up, dadgummit. And then we got Phil the Connector Community, also out there supporting and sharing this with other people. So, folks, grab your seat. You're going to get some really good stuff from two of the most biggest, hardest experts I've ever seen in this industry. No kidding. All right. I don't say things I don't mean. So go to the page, DM me if you want it, and look for your spam and promotional folders. You'll get an email. Next steps will be right there. And real quick, because we are about to, in the Hounds of Business, folks, we're about to unleash, and I'm not sure what to call it, so this is just my redneckism. We're going to unleash a whole lot of holiday rescue, okay? Because even the best of us can get overwhelmed at this time, right? And then we feel even worse in January sometimes. So we got Curtis Rivers. Enough said. Hollywood stuntman. Y'all have seen him if you watched the movie in the last 2 decades. Okay, you've seen him in really good stuff like Bond. And he left his career because he wanted to be happy and harmonious and peaceful and enjoy life. Yeah, no, that's who we got in the house. So if you're at that life stage pivot where you're trying to figure out career change, life change, anything's going on, man, Curtis is your guy. He's a real deal, and he's been there and done that. And I'm just hoping he don't invoice me for all the free advice and help he's given me. So thank you, Curtis. And last but not least, the only wellness person that could help me, no exaggeration, very patient man, David Manaski, Jaded Health. He's got his community, power partner with the HOB. And I'm trying to, look, he needs to add zeros to it. So he's going to let it go for the holidays. Guys, this is peanuts. This man is simple. It accounts for here, not just here, right? Like it accounts for all the objectives. We all know not to eat garbage, but we do it anyway. So David's on to that. This man, his doctor told him to take a hike. He says, you're overweight. You're not listening. Either find a new doctor or whatever. So then he goes and does his lawyer thing at the time, researches it, and then gets healthy and climbs Mount Kilimanjaro in his 60s. Yeah, that's Hounds material, right? Sound familiar? So these folks are going to gear up, and you'll be seeing them here probably next week or two, really giving you all gallons of milk to help you through the holidays. So thank you all for that so much. And back to the show, because you guys are killing it, man. Oh, I can't even wait for next Thursday. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. I want to get into more of the systems and strategies, right? That's going to make Phil pucker up real good. That's his thing too. So, all right, Megan, I'm going to start with you though. I'm going to torture Phil for a minute. So, you said this before, and we've talked about it, but I'm going to throw you a hard one. We've been too easy on you. All right. Well, let's pick on Phil. All right, Phil, we're going to pick on you. I'm trying to really throw this out there. Y'all making this easy. So you've helped companies 10x their sales, velocity, right? The speed of it. What's the first thing you look at when diagnosing growth bottlenecks? I'm just curious now. I'm just like,
So I actually go to what Megan touched on earlier. It was on expectations, right? So what are the expectations that they're putting out there? Number one. Then I look at what are the processes that they're using to get to those expectations, and how are they measuring. A lot of time there's a major misalignment within that, because the expectations have to begin with they've got to be realistic, they got to be achievable, and they got to be believable. And if they miss on those marks, the people within your organization are not going to be striving for them. So you got to make sure, especially the believable, right? We can get there. It might be really hard, but we can get there. Now, what are the mechanisms that we're going to employ to allow us to get there? So when I'm working with organizations, there's usually, well, we're looking at this, and they're looking at things that are not necessarily important. So we're using for sales an example. How many phone calls did you make today? How many emails did you send out? I don't care, right? It doesn't matter. What I care about is, what kind of result did you get? Did you get the anticipated outcome that you desired? So if somebody says, hey, we want to get 10 meetings scheduled a day. Okay, did you do that? And if I did it with 10 calls, or I did it with 1,000 calls, what is more effective? The 10 calls, right? So if it did it with 1,000, now I can begin to look at, how do I help you improve to accomplish the results you're doing with less effort. So really looking at where the expectations are. I had somebody that I was working with recently that they delivered, let's say, X, and they were setting a new expectation that was X times 4. And I was like, well, what are you going to do different tomorrow that you're not doing today to give you that multiplier? And, well, we're just going to ask them to do that. I'm like, well, that doesn't work that way, right? You just can't show up another day and say, hey, congratulations, but I lifted your mark, by 4X, and you got to do that in order to receive, the pay that you're going to come along with it. So it's that right away created a negative note within the organization that it's not achievable. So the effort and all the other things that I want to try to guide people to became more adversarial than it became cooperative.
Yeah, Megan, I'm not even going to ask. Go.
No, I think it's so interesting of how, and there's such a difference between an expectation and a goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's one point of, here's what's expected from you at work, and here's the goal we're trying to achieve. How do you reconcile those two, or do they cross?
So the goal is tangible, right? So I always try to use the SMART process around a goal. The expectation, if it centers and has a goal-like attribute, I try to move it off of that. So I try to look for the expectation is more about, what are you going to do to get to the goal? So my expectation is, you're going to work, let's just say, an 8-hour work day. You're going to spend half your day doing this, half your day doing that, right? So it's more of the what are the actions, activities, whatever it might be, that allows you to get there. And it's not a point in time snapshot as much as it is, give me over the next month or over the next quarter, right? So now I have a bigger body of work to look at to say, are we meeting expectations? And we say that frequently of like, you're not meeting expectations. Okay, well, what does that mean? Right? I'm not meeting it. That's today you don't like what I'm doing, but yesterday you did. So where did I run out of the boundaries on your expectations? So I try to look at a more of a cumulative, but we're working towards the goal. The expectation itself should not be the tangible result that you're looking for, more of that measurement.
Oh, real quick, in my world, I call that moving the goalpost. And that's one of the few things that turn me into Gargamel, and I just leave. I don't even say bye. I just walk off. Because seriously, you're always trying to kick, and then you're just moving it.
Yeah.
It is frustrating. And especially, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, in a culture that doesn't promote honesty. Like if you kids can't walk up and tell your boss an honest thing, then that deterioration happens. Right. And you may not know it for months until you're like, what the hell happened to our bottom line? Well, yeah, 4 months ago, this became an issue, right? And we talk about it and we even joke, but it's serious. And all, I mean, in my opinion, let you chime in, but all because we're not taking a second look. Even when my businesses and community are doing well, I always want a second and third opinion just to be ahead of the game, just to see if there's anything we could do better. It's just like if I got a negative diagnosis at the doctor, I'd probably want a second and third opinion. And I really respect and lean into leaders and decision makers who do that. Well, I'm okay. It's like that's why we do an annual physical at the doctor, right? Just to see if we really are okay. And that's my whole thing, because we got good companies going downhill because they just don't take those courses. You know, it's like Jim Rome said, they didn't take the class, they didn't have the speaker, they didn't look in the book, and it's a daggum shame. So, anything to add, Megan?
I think what Phil's really talking about too is that change. I love the conversation around changing the goalpost or pushing out the goalpost, changing the expectations, how that aligns with goals. I think from a leadership perspective, what's often missed, it's great to have goals, it's great to have vision, but so little is done from a change management on how you announce that, how you communicate that. But more importantly, I think really starts to disintegrate that and make it ineffective is the lack of buy-in that you get for that. Yep. Right? If it's going to turn you into Gargamel, you've got to be able to have some buy-in before it's just thrown at you. And if it's pushed on you, that's not great leadership. That's not what's going to rally the team. That's not what's going to actually get someone to motivate them or meet those expectations. So I always look at the buy-in aspect of it too, which I know Phil is a huge supporter of doing it. I'll say doing it right. I mean, and you asked him a question on just what are those first things that you look at? And I love how it's evolved from how do we just look at something to how do we actually fix it? Yeah. Much bigger conversation than we can handle for this, 20 minutes left or 10 minutes left.
Feels like 20. No, I'm leaving at 8, bro. Yeah, sorry, man. Hey, I'm going to invoice that guy. He keeps me till 9 o'clock. But I had a good thought and I just lost it with that nonsense. That's what happens here. But hey, real quick, I forgot about it. You thought I was going to forget. Uh-oh. So Megan had made the comment that all art is beautiful. And so even though it's not my best effort, it's close.
All art is art. And I said, everyone makes a unique mark and you can appreciate that because that is not a mark that I could make and I respect it.
Well, at least I got a short video coming out of this. That was good.
At least you tried.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I'm
digging it.
Feels like
I like it. I actually like it a lot. If you look at some cartoons and sketches, I'm reading a lot of children's books right now. I have a young child and I look at the art in it all the time. I'm like, could I draw this? Like, how good is this? What's actually going on here? I think
we're going to find out. Next week on the HOB, we're going to do finger paints. Okay. Why not? Claudia Marlanda, hey, that's her wheelhouse. She can come in and teach me how. So good job. I'm going to pull the website up so you guys can talk about this, but I want to make sure folks get this. Thank you for sharing all this. But if you guys want to take a deeper dive and really get into this, show up on there and share it. See, just share it. It's free. It doesn't hurt anything. And you never know. If you share it and somebody's not interested, they just pass it by. But what if they are, right? And so you two are really doing things on a massive level, and here's what I like about y'all. You're evolved leadership. So if Phil comes in and he goes, wow, there's another issue, he knows the people to bring in like Megan and vice versa, right? So it could be a team effort. It's not like, well, I got paid, I'm going home. It's no, hey, here's some issues, here's some specialists, and here's a game plan that we can tie together. All right, that's the next level. Because today, I mean, think about it. Everybody's got info. You can Google everything. But today's professionals and what you two excel at, would impress me, it's not easy to do, impress me, is that you weed through all those 8 billion pages of leadership theories and stuff, and you find that one thing they need, and then you scale it, right? Like, hey, you need this, and then that's the next step, and so forth. And that's the next level of expertise to me. That's what I want. I don't want somebody to just go, oh, I did my job. No, go do whatever I need done, right? And that's why we're doing this cohort. So on that note, and I'll pull up the training landing page. But so Megan, we'll start with you. from your aspect, what can people and attendees expect that's and even a little different than traditional, leadership webinars and courses?
I think with this, and I was working on it even today, is it's not necessarily just about pointing fingers at this is what your team needs to start doing or this is what you're doing wrong. It's how do you work together and how do you really align everyone so that you're getting the most out of it? Because this is about solving problems and providing resources. It's not about pointing fingers and adding more things on your to-do list. So I always try to make things very approachable and applicable. And I know those some of the things that we'll be talking about with during my session is really about how can you integrate this into your natural course of business? How can you not make this heavy? Because no one wants to add extra things to their to-do list. And when it comes to professional development, when it comes to growth, it feels like extra things that are adding on. So we always really work on making sure that it aligns with the natural course of business and solves problems instead of adding problems.
Absolutely. Before I mess up the whole question there. So, Phil, same one to you, man. What are you going to bring to this? And, maybe a fresh perspective that folks don't normally hear.
Yeah, so I'm not going to call it a fresh perspective, but one that gets overlooked a lot, which is communication, right? So not necessarily how you speak, but how well you're listening, right? And how well we hear or listen and actively engage in a conversation. Then how do you transform that into how do you want to execute? So a lot of times we get stuck in overthinking. We don't actually do. So if I'm listening, I'm understanding, I'm clarifying, how am I executing? So bringing that continuum together, which helps us develop. And, to me, one of the big aspects of leadership is understanding that we're going to fail, right? Failure is a part of the learning experience because that builds wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And when we look at different people that have written books on leadership and others, what they're doing is that they're sharing their wisdom with us. So each one of us in our own leadership capacity, how are we engaging, right? And engaging in communication, both listening as well as articulating, but then how are we putting that into motion and not being afraid to make a mistake? Because if you're humble, your ego's not in the way, I can learn from my mistake because people want to communicate that back to me. So that now I can become a more effective and a more contributing leader to them, right? And helping them on their journey.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because I'm going to pull it up and I want folks to know who it's for. So you're like, well, is this worth my time going to? That's how I think, right? And because we don't want to waste nobody's time. But, you're doing too much and not scaling anything. You as in you, your team, your staff, all the above, right? Your team lacks alignment or trust. That's a hard one to admit, but, when you're ready to grow, you do. And then your offers don't convert. I see that a lot. And we talk about that a lot. Some people that don't have the best solution outperform others. Why? We all think it's marketing, but it could be deeper. And the last thing, you feel stuck between leading and doing, like we talked about for a lot, putting out fires, right? Not because you're goofy or bad, it's just because it happens and we're not ready for it or we're not aware of it. So let me ask you this. How can entrepreneurs and executives know if they're ready for this next level of leadership alignment? Like, hey, yeah, this training's for you. I just threw it out there so y'all can fight over who wants to answer first.
I'll say if you're in that frustration piece, if it is I don't want my same problems from 2025 to bleed over into 2026.
That's a good one.
And those problems are definitely a scaling issue, but it's probably also a personal one on how you're feeling about the business, how you're feeling about your role in the business. And it's feeling on how you want to be spending your time next year.
Yeah, that's see, I had another good thought I lost. Y'all don't believe this. But yeah, that's the thing. This is it. Phil, Megan just got this, so it's Megan's fault. I'm about to say this. I always tell people the only thing I guarantee is better problems, right? But I have money problems and Warren Buffett has money problems. Difference is he's trying to pay less in taxes because he makes too daggum much, and I'm trying to have his problem. So that's the redneck way of saying what Megan just said uneloquently. But it is. You don't want to carry.
Alfred actually pays his taxes. Fun fact.
I know, but he probably pays a lot more than I do right now. Well, I'm trying to have that problem. I want to go and find out how hard that is. Because I just got done a couple of years ago paying the electric bill on time. So you see what I mean? But But seriously, you don't want to bring last year's problems. You want to have better challenges, better issues, right? Growth problems, not decline problems. And that's what we're talking about. Y'all are so good at this and down to earth. So, did I even let Phil go, or did I just steamroll him?
You steamrolled him.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil. I even put it in private chat because I knew I was going to ramble. I wanted to make sure you knew the question. Hey, self-awareness.
Not a problem. I'm feeling pretty flat right now, right? You have to get rolled, but
well, we all work 13 hours, so it's okay.
No,
Right? Everybody in the audience worked 13 plus hours, so we're good too.
Nah, it's I'm gonna kind of tap into what Megan was saying, right? There's a lot of frustration right now that exists out there, and one of the things that I hear frequently is I don't have time. If you're in that position and you're saying I don't have time, this is the place where you can go find time, right? Go take an hour, and if nothing else, you're going to get an opportunity to do some self-reflection. So even if you're not picking stuff up from us, maybe it's that thing that we drop that helps you self-reflect and say, oh, you know what? I've been overlooking that. Didn't learn something new, but you just triggered something in my mind to reflect, so that as I go into 2026, I can be thinking about how do I put myself on a better playing field and achieve the things that I want to accomplish in 2026, and not be on that proverbial hamster wheel where I'm constantly just running from place to place in a circle and not really moving myself forward.
Bingo. See, that's the school of hard knocks, man. You've been around for a long time. Both of y'all have done extensive work, but you never you're still down to earth. I love it. You know how to talk with people, not just teach them and talk at them. It's you know what tool to use. So let me ask this last question. We'll close out, folks. All right. If you could give one piece of advice, we'll pick on Megan first. Right? If you give one piece of advice to a business owner, leader, company head, decision maker who's feeling stuck and stretched thin, what would it be?
I would ask them to write out, draft out, communicate, vocalize where they want to be. They need to really create a vision for what it looks like for them to not be stretched thin, or what that success would be. Because without that picture, they're just trying to get out of something and they don't have anywhere that they're going with it. So you really need to do a little bit of that reflection, and you need to document it, and you need to get clarity on it. Otherwise, you're just playing whack-a-mole all day, and you're going to continue to play whack-a-mole.
Oh, wow. That's a timely reminder for me. Thank you for that. No kidding, because that's dead on. You have to say, wow, what would it look like if I actually, did this change or showed up or worked through the process? And yeah. And I'm like, I'll be able to actually eat a sandwich without, and chew it, right? I'd have time. I'd have freedom. And Phil, harmony. I don't want to work 15, hours a day for 50 years. I want to be able to do, sometimes you got to work hard. But sometimes you can do other things. If you have a team that's performing and processes that's kicking, maybe you want to work. Okay, go build a secondary product line, or do something else that's not just the same old stuff, right? And so, question to you, my friend. We'll close out. All right, same one. One piece of advice for people who are feeling stuck and stretched thin.
So one piece of advice I would offer is, if any of this resonated today, pick one thing that you believe you have to do that you don't think you can let go of, and give it up for a month.
Oh.
See how it works.
Ooh, that's some 1950 stuff, Phil.
What's that?
I said that's some 1950 discipline, man. All right, I'll take you up on it. I'm going to do it.
Try one thing, just one thing, and say, hey, I'm going to give up this, and it's hard. So it's not an easy thing, because you're going to want to oversee it. You're going to want to see how it's progressing, but let it ride. Maybe not your most risky thing in your business, but pick one thing that you do that you feel you have to have your fingers on, and lift them off. Give them to somebody else and empower that person with the ability to run whatever it is.
Yeah. Spoken with.
I'm going to clarify that, Phil, because I'm doing a little bit of that myself actually right now. I'm taking my own medicine. I'm eating my own veggies. It's just still a do it, but verify, right? It's not necessarily hand it off and ignore it, but at least give it to someone, take the first stab, make sure that you check in it, not micromanage it, but the try it and still manage the process, not lift your finger off of it.
Just be careful not to hover. Don't sit over it and correct. Let it go. So I agree with you. Verify, right? You don't want something to go off the rails, so to speak.
See, that's what I mean. You'll give good advice even if it's not in season or in style or pretty or easy or smells like potpourri. But if you want to grow, there you go. And that's why I like y'all.
Have you ever had advice that smells like potpourri?
I live in Kentucky. I mean, really? You asked that? Like,
who advice?
Yeah, we got some weird stuff over here. And we usually get California stuff 20 years later. So we're like, we're just now getting the NES and Atari. Yeah, that's how it happens. So, Beverly said she signed up. Colleen already did. I think she did like last week. So thank you, ladies, so much. Can't wait to see you. And also, I said I work 13 hours, and Beverly called me a slacker. Hey, Beverly, 4 years after 20 hours. That's how I define success at this stage. 13 hours is way better than 20. And I can get more done, especially with Colleen. So we didn't even get Colleen in the mix. She does systems, right? So I'm over here doing all this stuff like it really is 1950. And there you go. Yeah, that's crazy. So practice what you preach, right? So y'all have any last parting words? Or are we ready to rock? Just want to see people at the Zoom training.
Looking forward to seeing everyone there. It'll be a much deeper, richer discussion.
Yeah,
much more collaborative because we'll engage and we'll listen and give you some ideas and suggestions along the way.
Yeah, it's not a live stream. It's a enclosed, professional. We're going to be, relaxed. We're going to learn. We're going to interact. Bring a friend. Bring folks with you. Maybe trick the boss that's doing this stuff. No, I'm joking. But yeah, and I hear the kid in the background. So look at me. Look at me ending about on time. Even a blind squirrel catching nut every now and then. That's what we say out here. So did I freeze? Oh, I just crashed it. I just said something so bad that everybody just stopped breathing. Okay. Hey, it's been a while. All right. So thank you all so much. We had a lot of fun. I hope you learned a lot. I know I did. And folks, we will see you on the next one. We're going to show the kindness worldwide. We really want to push that. So if you missed that episode, come back. We're going to do a repeat of that episode. Tap into that. If you all want to work with some elite business care bears, oh, there you go. All across the world. Look at Megan. She's even excited. Yeah. And seriously, I mean, you get an intro from a Kindness Worldwide ambassador. Yeah. There you go. It's like Christmas, man. Like, yeah. So thank you all again. Thank you all in the comments, and we will see you next time.
See you next week.
Bye.
Yeah, next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Don't be late. We'll be there. They moved the buttons. I'll get it. There it is. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.